Welcome back, Fantasy Fiction Fanatics. It's great to see you again, and I hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to be finally doing my very first Q&A on this channel, and I'm super excited because this is in celebration of finally passing the 1,000 subscriber mark on this channel, which is super exciting for me. I have been doing this for 6 years and have finally passed 1,000 subscribers. I know it's not the greatest milestone in terms of YouTube. It's just the first 1,000, and many other artists have plenty of subscribers with thousands and millions of subscribers. So for me, I'm still a very small channel, and that's perfectly fine. I'm just excited to have all of you here with me talking about fantasy and enjoying my videos. It really is truly an honor to have you as my subscribers. So thank you so very much to all the brand new subscribers who have just come to my channel. And thank you so much to all my original subscribers who have been with me through 6 years of fantasy content. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I really truly am humbled that you guys like my content. So thank you so much for sticking around. I'm really excited to do this Q&A and do this celebration. Also, just a quick note, I am so sorry for not being around quite as much on this channel as I have been in the past. I used to be able to upload quite frequently. Now I just don't have quite as much time, and again, it's not like my full-time job or anything. I have other things I have to do and work I have to do. So sorry. Again, it's been a little bit lighter on the content this year. I'm doing what I can, and I hope you guys will still stick around and watch what I can upload. And hopefully I can get back to uploading a little bit more often, but we'll have to see. Again, thank you for sticking around, even with the little bit lighter content regularity, and hopefully you'll still enjoy the content that I make, because I am excited to make more videos for you guys and to talk about more fantasy together. Alright. I guess since there's been so many new subscribers and I haven't introduced myself in a while, I will go ahead and reintroduce myself so that way everybody can be on the same page of just who I am. Hi, my name is Amy, and I am the fanatic of Fantasy Fiction Fanatics. Thank you so much for being here. I am 29 years old, and I have loved fantasy my entire life. I am currently in Washington State, around the Seattle's greater area. So yeah, that's basically me. Not much else to say, I guess. But if you have any questions that I don't get to in this Q&A that you think of while you're watching this video, or have any more personal type questions, I don't mind answering those. I didn't get that many personal questions, so if you end up thinking of anything that you'd like to know personally about me, go ahead and let me know. And any other questions that I don't get to, or if I didn't get to your question or you didn't get time to submit something, go ahead and leave it down below. I would be happy to try and answer everything I can in the comments. Okay, let's jump right in. Thank you so much to everybody who submitted questions. I was a little concerned that maybe even if I wanted to do a Q&A, I wouldn't get very many questions and it might not be very much of a video. But luckily, you guys all submitted lots of good questions, so I have plenty to answer today. So let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, first question is, if you could bring to life any fictional literary character for 1 week, who would it be and what would you do with them for that week? This is so tough. A lot of these questions were actually really tough because it's like, how do you just pick one of anything when you like so many different things? But I think for this one, I would pick bringing Tasselhoff Barefoot to life, which I know probably a lot of you are cringing at right now. And I know I have a very different perspective than a lot of my subscribers on Tasselhoff, but I love him. And I think we would go out and have fun adventures. I just think he would be someone to go out and have fun time with, running around the city and different places, and I'd experience life through his very innocent mentality, I guess. Just, he would be someone who's just enjoys going out and doing stuff and having a good time and seeing things for the first time, especially in this world, considering it will be very different for him. So I just think I would go out and have fun with him, though I do recognize I would have to be very vigilant to make sure that he didn't steal everybody's stuff, which would be a very big job indeed, especially in this day and age. But I do think we would have a lot of fun. So maybe that would be more like a couple days than a full week. But I still think he would be super fun to bring to life and to be able to meet him and have a great time. Okay, next is what made you decide to start posting on YouTube? I had a couple people who asked me why I originally started this channel or what made me start doing YouTube. And I originally started this channel doing very different kind of content. Now I still have my long form videos where I talk in depth about different chapters of different books, but it's not my focused content anymore. But I originally started this just because I personally don't have a lot of people that I know in person that really likes to read fantasy and I can talk to fantasy about. So I wanted to be able to do that, talk to other people about my love of fantasy. But also I would really love to be a teacher for creative writing and for fantasy analysis and stuff like that at the college level. At this point I am not able to do that, but I thought that YouTube would be a fun way for me to kind of do that and kind of analyze and talk with other people about what I think, not necessarily just like an analytical literary form of analysis, but just diving into the story, really looking at the characters, looking at what I think means things, discussing stuff that happens in the story, to just grow and express my love of these different stories through talking about it in depth with other people. So that was originally why I started this channel, was to talk to other people about fantasy, but also to be able to learn together, to analyze things together, to have more of a kind of a college level type course in terms of the kind of content it was. It has evolved way past that. It's gotten much more casual, much more talking about fantasy in general and reviews and lots of other fun content. Which I think has drawn more of my subscribers than my original content, which is not bad at all. I enjoy all of the fantasy content that I make. But originally that's why I started it, was to try and talk to people and have it more be like an analysis or kind of college type discussion, because I just always think that that's super interesting and I wanted to share that with other people. And so now I just have it as a channel where I can talk about all things fantasy, share my love with you guys, and hear your guys' love back, and to share opinions and still learn together of what we like, we dislike, and occasionally I still do upload those in-depth videos so we can still have detailed conversations with each other and analyze things together. So I just think it's just a fun place to be. So hopefully you guys agree, and hopefully that's why you guys are here and have subscribed. Okay, next question is, if you could be any character from any universe, who would you be? And again, this is such a hard question. There's so many good characters. Like, if I'm going to become a character, like, how can I choose just one? I mean, there's so many times I've, like, thought that I wish I could be like this person. But I can say at least I know I would want to be a strong female character. Those are my favorites. Though I do really like sassy type characters in general, like no matter the gender, those are the greatest. Like Jim Butcher's Dresden Files, Harry Dresden, so great. But I do think I would prefer to stay a girl if I was a fantasy character. So something like Rain Benares, Mercy Thompson, who are very much like strong-willed women that also can sass back. Or even Lorana. She's not very sassy, but she is very much a strong woman character. She will tell you what she thinks and is very prominent with her opinions. So I definitely would say I would probably be a very strong women character, but it's hard to choose just one. That would be a really hard question. I'd have to think about it a lot more if I was gonna like make an official decision, like if it happened to me in real life and I could do that. But yeah, a character like that would be really fun to be. Next is, what is my favorite color? My favorite color is dark green. I absolutely love dark green. I like green in general, but dark green is my favorite. And I will admit I probably have too much green stuff. But it's a really good color. I just gotta say, it's a really good color. Okay, next is, if you could live anywhere in any universe, where would it be? And again, I have to ask, how do I choose? How do I choose? There's a pros and cons to every kind of location or universe. So that's where it's hard to decide what is the best universe to choose. And if I go full fantasy, it's going to be like a completely different universe. And I'm going to have to learn new rules about how to survive there. It's probably going to have magical creatures that could potentially eat me and be very dangerous. But if I do urban fantasy, at least it's like our world. It just has like fantasy stuff in it. So I can meet like a vampire or a werewolf. But at least I have some semblance of normalcy, of like, at least in terms of adapting to the world. So I think, though, if I'm going to commit to being in a world that's in a book, it has to be a full fantasy book. It has to be. Because that would be so cool to experience. I mean, come on. We gotta just ex-nay our normalcy stuff and just head on and try and figure it out. So I do think I'd probably do like Furies of Calderon world by Jim Butcher, or probably like Kryn. I think those are my thoughts on which universe I would go to, but it's hard. And again, it has pros and cons to what you pick. You might go into a world that really sucks and you might die at every corner. But I would risk it. I think I would risk it just to experience a full fantasy world. That's what I gotta do. Okay. Next question is, who is the least likable character and why is it Gelthonus? He really is not a great character. I agree wholeheartedly. He needs to get over himself really badly, and Sylvara deserves better. That's all I gotta say. I do agree with you. Gelthonus he's a crappy character. He gets better, I guess, a little bit when he gets over himself, but it takes too long. Okay. Next is, who is your go-to fantasy creature to take into battle? Hands down, dragons. If any of you have been around here at any length of time, you know I love dragons. I think dragons and mermaids are like my two favorite creatures. But for sure for battle, dragon. It might be generic. It might totally be generic. But I love dragons. They are awesome, and they are obviously good in a fight, and they're going to burn down all your enemies. Let's just be real. Yes, they can be killed. We know they can be fought against, but they're going to be really hard to kill. And so it's going to be kind of like a trump card. Centaurs are also kind of a good choice. I think those might be my second choice, but dragon for sure. Dragon, gotta have a dragon buddy. I really do need to have a dragon buddy. If I go to Kryn, I'm befriending a dragon. That's all I got to say. Okay. Next question is, what are your favorite YouTube channels? And this is hard, again, because I like to watch a lot of different kinds of content. I don't really have like main type of content that I watch on YouTube. I assume most people have lots of different kinds of content they watch on YouTube since it is so varied, but maybe not. Maybe a lot of people are there for a certain kind of content. But I'm very diverse. I like watching ASMR. I like watching art stuff, like people doing art. I can't do art to save my life, but it's really cool watching people do art. I watch book-related stuff. I watch cooking and lifestyle videos, minimalism, some things that are like miscellaneous, and I don't really know what kind of content I would group them in. But if you're interested in anything of any of these categories, definitely let me know down below what you might be looking for in terms of a YouTube recommendation that I could give you. I would be happy to let you know which ones are my favorite in that category. But I like to watch a lot of different kinds of things. I like some things that are just comedy or things that are like game related. Yeah. So as far as book related, I would say Dragonlance Saga is probably my favorite. I've got a couple others, but I don't watch them as much. I think this is maybe kind of weird as somebody who does book-related YouTube videos, but I don't watch as much about books on YouTube, which I think that sounds really, really weird. I think it is super weird. I don't really know why I don't watch as much about books on YouTube. I do watch stuff occasionally. I do have a couple of YouTubers that I do like to go to, but I guess I'm just too busy reading the books and making the YouTube channel videos to take time to watch about books. I guess maybe my YouTube experience, I like to kind of invest in my other interests, if that makes sense. But I do have a couple other people, so if you want to know specifically all of my book ones or any other kind of content that I might watch, and you want recommendations on good channels that I like, let me know down below and I will definitely give you a list. But it's just too much to list all my favorites at this juncture. Okay. Next is, if you could commission any fantasy author, living or dead, to write a story for you, what story would you want them to tell? And hands down, I have to ask Jim Butcher to write something for me because he is my favorite author of all time. I have a lot of top authors, like Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. I really like Patricia Briggs. I really like Iona Andrews. I really like Lisa Sheeran. I like a lot of authors, but Jim Butcher, I feel like he's just my favorite. He's my absolute favorite. And so I would probably ask him to write me something that is related to Norse or Greek mythology. I think he would do a really interesting job with this. So maybe like an urban fantasy that is tied to Greek mythology or Norse mythology things, or literally like something that would be like a Norse story or a Greek story, something like that. I just really love mythology. If any of you guys have been here around for a while, you guys know I love my mythology. And I think it would be really cool to see what he would come up with in the mythology area. So that's what I think I would do. Okay, next is, what is the fantasy trope you dislike the most? I dislike the most damsel in distress. It's not just a fantasy trope, but fantasy does use it. So I recognize it's not really just a fantasy trope, but I really don't like damsel in distress characters. Okay, not to say that I don't think that women should be saved. Like, I do think that there are some women who do need to be saved, but I don't want it to be where like they just wait to be saved, like they don't even try at all. Also, I've just noticed by looking at my viewfinder, sorry, I'll go back to my tangent about damsels in distress, but I've noticed that it seems like I keep getting dimmer and dimmer. I'm so sorry. I'm having to film in the middle of the day, and my window, I can't cover it enough to black it out. So I think it's counteracting my lighting that's in front of me. I have it on full blast. I can't make myself any brighter. So I'm so sorry about that if I've been dimming and dimming this whole video. I'm trying my best. The sun is probably getting brighter behind me. So I apologize in advance if the lighting sucks. This new apartment I'm in does not have a very conducive filming location, and this is what I've got. So sorry again. And hopefully I will maybe get brighter again in the future if the sun loves me at all and hides behind a cloud. Anyway, damsel in distress. I hate it because the damsel in distress like literally is like just waiting for somebody, especially a man, to come and save her. And I'm not like a feminist who's like, oh my gosh, I don't need a man to save me. I probably do. I really probably do need a man to save me if I'm locked in a tower and I don't have strength to get out. But I do think I should try. I don't think I should just assume someone's gonna show up and save me, or assume that somebody else is gonna fix my problems. I at least need to try. I at least need to give a valiant effort. If I don't succeed, that's fine. I am welcome to be saved because everybody needs help. But I do think the damsels in distress don't even try. They just don't want to break their nails, and they're just gonna lay there until someone else comes along and fixes their problems and saves them. And that's what I don't like. I think you gotta try on your own just as much as needing help. It's a group effort. It's a group effort. Okay, next is, do you write fiction? If so, what kind, and who are your primary influences? Yes, I do. I really like writing. I would really love to be an author one day. It is just taking longer than I would like to be able to try and reach that goal. But I do mostly write high fantasy. I am trying to figure out if I can do some urban fantasy. I think that would be cool. I would say for high fantasy, my main influences would just be Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman and Jim Butcher, probably because those are my favorites in terms of story and what kind of story they tell, if that makes sense, in terms of actual writing style, all that. And as far as urban fantasy, it would probably be Jim Butcher and Patricia Briggs. Again, those are my top authors, and I feel like I really like the way they tell their stories, and I really like their writing styles. So that would be what I think my influences would be. So yeah. Okay, next question is physical or digital, and why? Both. And this is in terms of like reading, physical books or digital books. Both can be really great. I really love physical books for the feel of them, the aesthetic of them, and like, you know, growing up, obviously I read all on paper, and it's a really nice feeling to read on paper. I love the smell of books, which I used to think I was weird, but I have found that there's actually quite a few people out there who love the smell of books and paper, so I'm not crazy, and I'm not weird anymore. Well, I might still be weird, but I'm not as weird because there's other people out there that also enjoy smelling books. The bookstore is the best smell in the world. You just walk in and it hits you. Anyway, so I love that part about books, physical books. I really like digital in the fact that it's much easier to carry digital around. It's much slimmer. You can fit it in a bag very easily. Not saying that a book is super hard, but it depends on the book. Some books are bigger, some are thicker, some are just a little bit clunkier. Plus, with a digital, you can bring a bunch of books with you. Like if you go on vacation, you don't have to pack 5 books. You can just download it all on the Kindle or on your phone. And it makes it easier to just access it when I'm out and about. So both have pros and cons. Pardon me. Both has pros and cons. Both also, you know, like save space in general, so I don't have to have 20 bookshelves, and I can still own books for digital. Easy for the library to get digital ones. You don't actually have to go to the library. So pros and cons. I like them both. Okay, next is there other ways you can get your fantasy fix other than reading books? 100% yes. I get my fix from about anything I can. Movies, TV shows, though TV shows in general do better with fantasy, I think, than movies, but Lord of the Rings, of course, is an exception. It's amazing. But again, I'm not opposed to watching a fantasy movie and seeing how it goes. But movies, TV shows, anime, video games, Zelda is my favorite, and that's a fantasy. Yeah, so any other kind, board games, there's some fantasy board games out there that are really, really fun, like me and my family like to play Eldritch Horror. Yeah, so lots of different fantasy. I'll put it from any kind of content, really. I've done puzzles that are fantasy scapes. That's pretty fun to make that fantasy scape. It's really cool. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be just reading for me. I like fantasy in any kind of way, shape, or form I can get it. All right, I gotta turn my page here. Let's see. Okay, any more recommendations for Dragonlance fans? I did do a video that was like, so you like Dragonlance, and I listed a couple of series to try out if you like Dragonlance. It really just depends, though, on why you like Dragonlance. So I have in that video as well, I did say, okay, this is how I feel like it relates to a Dragonlance, like if this is the aspect you like about Dragonlance. So I'm going to list off some things, but I don't know for sure if it's always if you like Dragonlance, you'll like these. I think it just has certain aspects that I think could relate to Dragonlance, depending on what you like about it. So the first one is the Dark Sword Trilogy by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. I just think it's good because it's more of that similar kind of style, and the fact that it's the same authors, so it's going to have the same writing style and feel. But it's got really good fantasy world. It's got a good group of characters. It's first, it doesn't really seem like it's like a group story, but it is a story about a group of characters, even though it focuses kind of mostly on one or two. But it does have a good group. Just a really solid, classic feeling, high fantasy, really great. Sword of Shannara by Terry Brooks is kind of a maybe recommendation for me, in the fact that I don't totally love Sword of Shannara as much. I've read the first two. I do think the story itself is interesting. I just find that the writing is hard for me. The writing is hard to get through. But I do think if you like a classic fantasy type story, and that's why you like Dragonlance, like it's a very classic good against evil story, Sword of Shannara could be good for you. The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. Again, this is a very, to me, classic feeling, high fantasy, big group of characters, good against evil, that kind of thing. So that's what I would recommend. Sword of Truth by Terry Goodkind doesn't really have the same feel as Dragonlance in terms of that, but it is a really good high fantasy. It has really good fantasy elements. It does have good against evil, like a lot of fantasies do. The only thing is that it's very, very long. The books take a long time to get through, and it's one of the few stories that I actually can push through, despite the fact that it is kind of a bogged down writing style. So very good story, but it might take some effort to get through, which is where I'm like, Dragonlance is not like that at all. So it really depends on what you like in a writing style. And this is the next one is a maybe, because I don't feel like it has that much in relationship to Dragonlance, but The Forever Sea, it's a duology by Joshua Johnson. Pardon me. Pardon me, guys. I was sick a couple weeks ago, and I still have the cough. It still comes and goes sometimes, so sorry about that. The Forever Sea by Joshua Johnson is really good story-wise. Like, it's just a really cool world with a really cool concept around it. It's a high fantasy. It's not really a group type thing. Like Dragonlance obviously is a big group of characters. Forever Sea is not like that, and it's very different in most ways from Dragonlance, but I do think if you really just like high fantasy and you like a really cool story, this might be for you. It's one of my favorite, like, more recent books, because it is only a couple years old. But I just wanted to throw it out there because it could be something that, like, it's not really it, but it's like a good adventure story, and Dragonlance, I think, is really good adventure. So maybe this would be something that you would like as well. So that's what I've got for some more suggestions. Hopefully that will help you. Okay, next is, what do you like about fantasy as opposed to other genres? I just love the pure imagination of fantasy. It is just so cool what you can think of when you think anything is possible, and when you can create any kind of world that you want. Anything can happen. Anything that you just imagine could be a thing can be a thing. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just so cool. The creatures are cool. The concepts are cool. The magic is cool. The way you can spin it together, the way it fights against evil, especially when you're like the underdog. It's just so cool. You can think of anything. And I know it's like, I don't have another way to explain it. It's so hard. But there's so many times that, like, I read things about like magic happening or something happening, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Like, just imagining it in my mind is like, that would be so awesome if that was real. If that could actually exist. I just love it. So I hope that was, well, it'd probably be terrifying too. Now that I'm like thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, it probably is terrifying also if that was actually true, and it actually happened in real life. But that is also part of the coolness of it. I like how there's a lot of times checks and balances as well. It's just amazing what people can think up and I just think it would be so exciting to experience some of those things, even if it would also probably be terrifying as well. Yeah, I hope that was a good answer. I feel like that was a little less than what I would like it. I'd like to have a couple more words to actually describe these things, but that is why I love it. I like other genres too. I don't only just read fantasy. I do like romance, I do like mystery, but they just don't have quite the same oomph as fantasy because it's more mundane. And not to say that mysteries are mundane or that romance is lackluster, but it's something we can experience in the real world. It's something where it's no common knowledge. It's something that's ordinary in terms of it being a thing that we can experience in real life and can truly relate to because it's real life. But fantasy is something where you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. Not saying that there isn't rules and structures to each world because that is important. But you can just enter a world where anything can happen and you can't even know what's possible until you find out. And it's just a very exciting adventure. Okay, favorite book cover. This is also a hard one to just pick one. I don't understand if you guys think I can pick one or if you can pick one, but I really can't. There's a lot of really good covers out there. I would have to say I think Dragonlance covers are kind of one of my favorites. You just look at those pictures, and even though you know they're drawn, they look so realistic. It's very realism in how it's drawn, and it makes the fantasy world look so amazing. It looks almost like a picture, in my opinion, but it's so detailed and so amazing. So even though I don't think that necessarily Dragonlance has like the coolest poses per se. There's usually just they're lined up or they're like in some kind of formation with the fantasy stuff around them, but the realism is just so awesome. So I do really like those. I do really like Jim Butcher books, both the Furies of Calderon and the Harry Dresden Files, because I do really like the mystery and the smokiness and how like you have the guy or the characters there, but I do really like that aesthetic too. The Dresden has kind of the dark covers with like glowing, the stuff that's like you want to see is like kind of glowing out of the cover, and his fantasy ones do have really cool drawings as well. So I would say those ones are probably my favorites. Mercy Thompson also does have some pretty cool covers. But yeah, I would have to say Dragonlance might take the cake. Okay, what are my Hogwarts houses? This is hard for me because I've got 3 different kinds that I think I could fall into. I feel like Gryffindor is the one that I would like to say that I am in. I would like to say that I'm really brave, and that's like a really important quality of me. I don't think I'm not brave, but I don't know if that brave is like my attribute to put me into Gryffindor. Of course, everyone wants to be in Gryffindor. Well, not everybody. Let me take that back right now. That is not true. Not everybody wants to be in Gryffindor, but I think a lot of people want to be in Gryffindor just because that's the house that Harry's in and the story takes place in. And that's a big portion of also why I would like to say that I am a Gryffindor. To say that I am that cool and that brave to go and do those things. I am probably more likely a Ravenclaw. I love school. I was always a very studious person. If I could go back to college right now, I would definitely go and study more. I just really enjoy school a lot. So my guess is I probably would be a Ravenclaw. Though there is a potential I could be in Hufflepuff. I do feel like I'm a very loyal person. I am super, once I'm your friend, once I'm in your life, I'm very, very loyal. So maybe, but I think most likely I'd probably be a Ravenclaw. Yep. Okay. Have you watched the Dragonlance movie yet? No, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I really need to get on that. Sorry. Last but not least, this is my last question, and this is a funny one. What is my favorite sandwich? I would have to say I think my favorite sandwich would be a bagel sandwich with turkey, bacon, and lettuce on it. And I know you're probably thinking like no condiments, no nothing else. No, nothing else. that's just my sandwich. I will admit, for food-wise, I'm a very plain person. Not saying that I don't like flavor, not saying that I don't like any kind of condiments, but I am more of a simplistic food person. I like things more simple than I like with, like, I'm not the person that's gonna go to the sandwich thing and just like load everything onto the sandwich. That's just not me. Yeah, turkey with some slices of bacon, some lettuce on a bagel. I do also like roast beef on sandwiches. Depends on where I'm also getting the sandwich, now that we're talking about this. It also depends on where I'm getting the sandwich. But I think that might be my favorite kind of sandwich. I like to make those at home a lot too. So, anyway, those were all the questions that were asked that I saw. So if I missed anything, please let me know down below. Or if you think of any more questions, personal, fantasy related, any kind, I am open to answering any of them. Let me know down below. And thank you so much again for everyone who has subscribed. I really appreciate all of your subscriptions and you supporting my channel, and I hope that you enjoy the content that I make for you in the future. So thank you so much. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.